So good afternoon, everyone. We're back again doing another Disability Confident webinar. This one I am really excited about. It is all about how you can unlock the business case for Disability Confident. And we're joined by an amazing panel, actually, of people I've known for a while and a couple of people I've never met before. So it's all very exciting for me, and I hope it is for you as well. Please feel free to ask any questions that you would like to. We have a chat function. We've got a Q&A function. I will try and get to the questions as much as I can. But if there are any challenges with that, we will come back to you at the end of the programme and over the next couple of days to answer the questions. We also send out a copy of the recording. Please feel free to pass it along. And we've asked the people who are here today, and certainly with Diane from Business Disability Forum, to give us any kind of collateral that we can send out that's going to help you with your learning on this. So we're really excited to start, if I may, with Diane Lightfoot. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
A bit about myself. So thank you very much, Tracy. I'm CEO of Business Disability Forum and have been for 8.5 years. Goodness, time flies. So we are a charity and a membership organisation, and we work with now over 600 businesses,
Wow.
a huge range of sizes
Wow.
and sectors. I know, we've grown a lot. And we support them to be what we call disability smart, which is very, very strongly linked to disability confident, and really just to get better at recruiting and retaining disabled employees and also serving disabled customers. And me, for my background beyond that, I've been working in the disability inclusion space for, more than 21 years. And I really sort of believe in the transformative power of business, and particularly of good work and good jobs in really transforming experiences for disabled people.
And what are the stats around people getting disabilities during the working age?
Well, Tracy, I'm very glad you asked me that. So most people think of disability as something that's present from birth, but only 17% are. 83% are acquired. So it is very likely that if you don't have a disability or your loved ones don't, that you or they will acquire one. And Michael has put in the chat, 46 is the average age of gaining a disability. I used to quote
just
53.
my age, Michael. Thank you.
So it's got younger, but it does mean that this is part of the human condition. It's something that does and will affect all of us. It is a normal part of being human, and I think the latest stats are that 24% of the UK population has a disability, and that's in the broadest possible sense. So this is something that should matter to every single business in terms of your workforce, but also your customer base.
Well, on that point, I think we've answered the case for doing this. So should we all go home for cream teas? No, I mean that is one. It's really as simple as that. Obviously, it's nuanced within different companies and different environments, but the rock bottom basic sense of doing this is just there, Diane. Thank you for being so succinct about that. So important. So, Helen.
Thanks, Tracy. I don't feel I have anything to add now after that.
Well, as I said, we can all go home for tea.
Sorry, I covered it very well. Good afternoon. So my name is Helene Palmer. I'm the Recruitment Team Lead at XPS Group. We are a pensions and insurance business. I've been there since 2019. And prior to that, I worked for a disability charity for 8 years. So I have quite a bit of experience in this area. I myself neurodiverse. And I feel, without wishing to sound a cliche, I do feel that, really passionate about this topic. So very pleased to be here.
Good. Thank you very much for joining. And then finally, George. You're on mute there, I think, George, or I can't hear you. We still can't hear you, George. Mariam, can you help at all?
I think it's the internal issue with his headphones. So
oh my goodness, we've lost George. I'm sure we will get him back momentarily. There we go.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's wonderful, thank you.
Don't know what happened there. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm George Woods. I'm a sustainability advisor at Siemens Mobility. So we're a part of Siemens that we make trains, we look after the railways across the UK. we do signalling, and as part of my role, I work in sustainability. So that looks at topics like social value and how we support our customers to generate positive social impact across the country, which disability confident is a very strong part of that. So as myself, as a disabled person and with experience working in the charity sector before working at Siemens, use my background to really push for disability confident and drive the Siemens becoming disability confident leaders in the last couple of months.
Well done, George. I mean, it does talk to the whole premise of this isn't just for your staff, it's for your customers. And I mean, we talk about the purple pound, and I know Diane can touch upon that in a minute, in terms of what companies potentially are not getting. They're not necessarily losing it. I think we have some sloppy language perhaps around that, but you know that you need to make everything as accessible as possible. And certainly all the horror stories that we hear are either about trains or planes, aren't they?
Yeah, there's definitely some challenges. I'm sure I'll touch on those throughout the session.
Wonderful. Diane, purple pound, true or false? Should companies really be taking that seriously? Well, I mean, it's something we kind of punt around a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. I thought when you said true or false, you were going to ask me if the figure that gets used for it, which is currently, I believe, £274 billion a year
Good God.
in the UK alone. I thought you were going to ask me if that figure was true or not. That might take me a little while to go out and count.
Fair enough.
But that is the estimated figure, as I'm sure lots of you know, of the spending power of disabled people and their families annually in the UK, which is huge. And I think, well, to me, it's simple. Why on earth would you want to exclude that size of a market? You wouldn't with any other kind of market. You wouldn't in any business say, well, there's 24% of our potential customers here that we're just not bothered about. You just wouldn't. Nobody would do that.
Wouldn't.
I can't think of any industry where you just go, nah, not bothered about them. So this is really, really important. And the other thing that we talk about a lot, and it sounds like a cliche, but it's true, is that when you get things right for disabled people, when you make them accessible, when you make them inclusive, you make them better for everyone. And we did some research into what disabled consumers buy and why a few years ago. And it's not rocket science, but it was accessible products and services, easy to find information before buying on whether those things were accessible, inclusive or not, and customer facing staff who had the confidence to answer their questions and not go, oh my goodness, it's a disability or accessibility question, I need to talk to a specialist. These are things that are really simple and within any business's gift to do. So if you get hold of this, bearing in mind that so many don't, this could be such a great USP for your business in really just attracting some or all of that 24% of the population.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I mean, this is the whole thing about the Disability Confidence series. And I'd love to ask Helene, why did your company, have we lost you? Are you there? Helene?
I'm still here.
Oh, you are wonderful.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I've scrunched my screen up so people disappear. I can only see 3. Let's get rid of the Q&A. So why did XPS do this? Why have you done it? It's not the quickest thing to do, is it?
No, no, it's not. So I think for us, it was myself and my manager, Moji, who initially began on this journey. And at the time, we started on level 1 with a view of becoming more inclusive. We were looking at the time as well a lot of intersectionality and inclusion as a whole. We also had the relationship with Business Disability Forum and a relationship with Even Break as well. And actually, I have to, give praise to both Alan and Chantal at Business Disability Forum, who's really supported us and pushed us to go for level 1,
Wonderful.
then level 2 and level 3. And like I said, really what we wanted to do was embed it within the organisation from the offset to really build on that inclusive culture, as well as from recruitment to retention. And then we started and just didn't stop.
So how did you get the okay from the seniors in the business to say, take the time, as long as it takes, it's fine, we get it? How did you get there?
So I will be honest, this was something we very much led ourselves to a certain degree.
Okay.
And we weren't working to any specific deadlines apart from those we set ourselves. So our situation was a bit unique in that. So we got buy-in, and I think the valuable lesson that we really learned was it's easy to make a difference by communicating effectively. And it kind of all hinged on that from leaders and then throughout the organization. And, you know, we took the stance that it was very much sort of a hand-on-heart journey for us. And we wanted to be genuine and transparent about why we started the journey. And that carried a lot of weight, really, to get involvement. And then one thing that I would definitely recommend to people is have allies across the business, because it isn't just about getting that leadership buy-in. Obviously that's important, but you know, you need to recognize how important people are around you in the organization, because disability impacts everyone, whether it's directly, indirectly, permanent, or if it's a time-driven situation. It's not a topic to shy away from, nor for us to solutionize on behalf of people with disabilities. So it's really very much about getting that engagement. And
so you did it by stealth then, under the radar. You did it by stealth, under the radar, until you had something.
So definitely level 3. We didn't actually tell anyone we were going for.
Oh wow.
So in fact, it was something that we kind of debated, and again, at BDF were absolutely brilliant at that point, encouraging us, and I kind of squirreled away in the background, pulling everything together. And
wow.
Yeah, but we, you know, it's, again, I'd say it's from day dot when we decided to do it. We were methodical, systematic. That communication was such a big part. We had a plan and we stuck to it, and we were just consistent in what we were doing. And that paid off by the time we got to level 3. So I really recommend that approach, because actually by the time we got to level 3, we'd done everything.
You'd done it. Yeah. I think being members or partners with the BDF is actually a great place to start, because you're already encouraged to do so much of the stuff that you would do within Disability Confident. It's just a slightly different focus. Obviously, the focus on the employees and people that you are going to recruit and how you look after the mental health and everything. But that's really interesting. Thank you. And George, did you have the same circuitous route? Did you undertake it yourself and then think, crikey, this is too important? Did you have to get other people involved, and how did you do that?
We took a slightly different approach to Helen, I guess. Well, we approached the whole business. The business was fully bought into what we wanted to do, and we kind of
how did you achieve that?
So it was kind of numerous reasons, really. Well, one was that we knew we already had. So it was about a year and a half ago. We did a bit of analysis of where we were at. Like we knew we were level 2. We wanted to get up to being a leader. So we're aware of where we were, but we found and identified the steps. And we're actually, this isn't going to be too much of a stretch for us, but we also do and have the data within the business to say we can see clearly what the value this can bring to the business. So we could see the percent, like our internal data on disabled people. So we could say this is a larger proportion of our workforce. What also benefited was, because we work in the public sector, our customers were asking us if we were disability confident leaders. And when you're getting that clear ask,
interesting.
It makes going to your senior leadership a lot easier to say, our customers want it, we want it. And so it really helped the conversation there.
You're not starting from scratch, trying to explain what it is, what it's all about.
Exactly. So I think that really helped us. And so as part of that, we had buy-in from all across the business in different areas. So we work with our HR team, with our wellbeing team, with our talent acquisition team, and other areas, with our even down to the school engagement programs team, about getting them on board, understanding what they can do to improve their processes. So it wasn't just for us to develop the policies. It was actually, how do we live and breathe being disability confident.
So BAU with everything, embedding it properly.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I love that, but it gives me the question, Diane, for you, how do we get past the older generation, shall we say, the older business people who go, that was 2 ticks. We don't want to do that. That's just a tick box exercise. Doesn't mean anything. How are we overcoming that?
I think making that business case, which we've already talked about, and let me say here as well that we all know that you shouldn't need a business case. You shouldn't need a business case to do the right things. So let's just put that absolutely there. But you might, to get people on board. And one of the things that we talk about is kind of trying to use the levers that resonate, and they're not necessarily what you think they are. So it might be about productivity. It might be about that market that we've talked about, the purple pound. It might be about brand value. It might be about avoiding reputational risk or you know, meeting your legal requirements, because let's not forget that we do have an Equality Act. With some of the things that have been happening in the media lately, I have said to myself, God bless the Equality Act, which is not a sentence I expected to say. But so there are actually legal levers as well. And the reason I say don't second guess what might land with someone is I was talking to one of our partners a while ago, and she'd been doing what it sounds like George and Helene have been doing in different ways in trying to sell in the message internally. And she'd gone to someone in their, I think their marketing team, and just assumed that the business case was what was needed. And this person stopped her and said, hang on a minute, it's the right thing to do. You don't need to tell me all this. So actually sometimes people will be more receptive than you think they are. But as well as saying to people, do you know that the majority of disabilities are required? A lot of people don't know that. The other thing I ask is, do you know how many disabled people are already in your workforce? And almost certainly you don't. And it doesn't necessarily matter if you do, but the key question is, have they got the support they need to do a great job for you, the job that you are paying them to do? Or are they actually expending their energy on coping, on workarounds, on masking, air quotes, or covering, things that are really exhausting and are taking away from the task at hand? So just making it clear to senior leaders that this isn't something that's a nice to have. It's not something it's fluffy. It's about getting the best out of the people that you've got. It's about attracting the widest range of people and being a great business, being the best you can as a business. The other element that might be helpful is sometimes we see a degree of healthy competition in this space.
Yes.
So, if you know that someone else in the sector that you're in, a competitor even, has got disability confident level 3, well, maybe that's a lever to help to get them invest. And also, I think, show them that it can be easy, because sometimes, and this shouldn't be the case, but sometimes people hear the word disability and just go, oh my goodness, it's going to be too difficult, too sensitive, too expensive, too whatever it is. If you can say to them, we can just prioritize, we can do it bit by bit, disability confident as a structure lets you do that. It encourages you to start with making one commitment of thing you do, so you don't have to go from nothing to everything. You can phase it. And yeah, I mean, point them in the direction of great people like George and Helene have done this. And
absolutely
actually reinforce that it's really, really worth it.
It's interesting, and thank you for that. We've got a question in the Q&A saying about one of the barriers people with neurodiversity is the lack of opportunity, and then the fear of neurodiverse people within the recruitment process and hiring managers. And this is certainly something that's touched on within the Disability Confident. It's expanded. It used to just be for disabled people, and traditionally how we used to see them was either that little, and I'm going to use the word spastic historically, boy for the National Spastic Society, whatever it was called in those days, not that long ago, because he used to stand outside with a little dog with a little money collecting tin. It's now expanded, obviously, to include people with long-term health conditions, particularly non-visible conditions, and then neurodivergent individuals who aren't disabled. They're disabled by society, and that's a bit of a nuanced comment to make. But certainly, to your point, Hitendra, it very much is the encouragement through the Disability Confident to make line managers and talent acquisition people aware, particularly in more senior roles, of what the barriers people with neurodiverse traits might be facing in recruitment. I mean, Helene, do you cover that in your Disability Confident? Have you found much improvement?
Yeah. So for us, in terms of talent acquisition, retention, yeah. So predominantly what we've seen, in my opinion, is exactly what we hope we see. We've seen more people declaring disabilities and coming forward for adjustments or simply asking the questions. And I think, you know, obviously there's lots of other benefits to it, but I think to have that engagement with people and to see those increases is just fantastic. We're doing a lot of work on the way we utilize the data, but you know, on day to day, when you're speaking to people who require adjustments, whether with a disability, whether neurodiverse, and it's opened up that conversation. And that comes with whether it's applicants, but what we've also seen is an increase in people, in staff rather, who are declaring disabilities, who we can then support. And this isn't just new staff, it's staff that have been with us for a while, who actually haven't voiced up before, but because of all the engagement and the communications, you know, I think we're at a really good point within our organisation where we have our embedding practices, and we're also working on continuous improvement. And that's where that increase in engagement is.
I mean, the continuous improvement actually is a really key point, I think, with all of this, because to have gone from 1 to 2 to 3, you're doing that continuous improvement. But the very key thing to all of this, and George, I'd love your views on this, is that measurability of what you've done. So is it having an impact? Is it helping you to reach the individuals within your business that you might not have reached before? Is it improving your customer service outcomes? Is it improving the amount of people that are telling you in the interview process that they are disabled, that they are neurodivergent, that they do have a long-term health condition? What have you found as a result, George?
We've definitely seen an improvement in our data. So we're starting to see an uptake. We've been asking people to start sharing that they're disabled, so we can actually see who to target in our workforce.
Why did you use the word sharing? I'm interrupting there because I think it's quite a key point here as well. Some companies use disclosing, some people use declaring. You've deliberately used sharing.
Okay, I wouldn't say I deliberately use sharing.
So, okay.
But I mean, I said the challenge that we have.
It's a softer word, I think, personally. It's a softer landing.
I think historically, from our data, people haven't been sharing that information with us. We don't know what. I mean, there could be many reasons why that is, but what we're looking to do is at least build that trust with our colleagues, so they can see that there's support there for them to share. It's in their benefit. It's not to their detriment. And obviously, that's the kind of workplace that the culture we want to promote.
Have you noticed a decrease in churn rates or turnover of your staff?
I mean, it's too soon to say at the moment, because it has only been a few months for us. So, but hopefully, we will start to see that. But I think we've also seen, what we've been quite strong on, is with going through this process. Historically, colleagues who aren't disabled, and are working with employees that are, maybe aren't comfortable speaking about the topic, and additionally, those are in specialist roles maybe think, well, that's not for me to deal with. I'm no expert. But what we've tried to do, and I think we've done quite well, is actually empowering these people and making them. If you're there putting in an effort to help and support, then you are doing the right thing. And you might make mistakes. There will be challenges, but it's about learning. It's about understanding and helping put these processes in place. So we've seen a great improvement of that, which I think has been a really real key driver of actually seeing these change and that kind of continual improvement within the business.
That's wonderful, because it goes to, I mean, Diane was doing a masterclass with Nasser Siabi, Microlink CEO, recently at clients. And the key thing that came out of that was that line managers, bless their hearts, are the guys that are sandwiched, guys and girls, sandwiched in the middle with perhaps less training and less knowledge around this, and more of a fear factor of the unknown, and perhaps creating more barriers. And it sounds like you're starting to chip away at that, George.
Yeah, definitely we're getting there, and we've had small examples of case studies of colleagues who have been able to, as a result of the work we've done, have these conversations with their line managers that they weren't having before. So we've given them documentation and clear guidance on how to have these conversations. We've given training
Nice.
to the line
Yeah.
managers so that they again start to feel more comfortable. But it's a continual process. It's not, I could say by no means we're perfect, but it's just about giving people the tools to be able to start to put these processes in place.
I love that, because I mean, there's so much training around having a difficult conversation, but for me, it's just about asking the questions.
Yeah.
George, how are you today? How's it going? Is there anything you need to do, more or differently? Not necessarily better, but to have that consistent conversation with a colleague from a line manager must make the line manager feel an awful lot more comfortable coping with it. I mean, I won't tell you who the client was, but I was talking quite some time ago to a client, and in their recruitment process, they actually still had on their application form for the recruiter, don't take this person for any further in the process if they've got bad eye contact. And it's things like that that I think the disability confident leaders can really stamp out on, because you in effect are able to access the people who are supplying you to say, we need to know that you're on the same journey as us. Do you push out much to your suppliers, Helene, in that way?
Yes, we do. So we've
Do you get
worked.
much pushback?
No, interestingly, not to date. So what we do as part of our, we have a procurement team that we work really closely with. So as part of our whole journey, which I mean, it took us 18 months from sort of the beginning to get
Okay.
level 3,
Yeah.
and as part of that, we like I say, we made allies within the business. We got people involved, and it was people like procurement. So
Yeah.
I think the supply a bit, I can't remember now from each of the levels, comes a bit later on, but it was something that we started speaking very early on. So we were speaking with our facilities department as well as procurement, and starting really to build things from there. So for example, in my role within recruitment, we work predominantly with a lot of recruitment agencies, and that is actually now built into our tender process.
Oh, wow.
And subsequently, that's now kind of embedded in our procurement processes. And again, something like that, if you're not there yet, my advice is, don't worry. Like I said, it took us 18 months, but we brought people along with us. And if you're bringing people along the journey, you're speaking to people like your procurement team or whoever's in charge of that. It's the type of thing that actually, when you start that conversation over it, it then kind of flows, and that's when the embedding comes in.
No, I love that, and I think it's so important, particularly within recruitment. I'm an ex-recruiter of, I'm not going to tell you how many years, and it was always never on the radar. Nobody talked about it. But I worked in IT recruitment, and you think about the preponderance of people who would have been neurodivergent, and people literally, when they were recruiting, didn't bother about. We've kind of gone 360 on this, by the way, but they didn't care what that person was like as an individual. It was just, how much C++ programming have you got? How many projects have you run? And that was it, which made life easier, if you like, because they were recruiting on the skills, not based on whether or not they could do a really good interview.
So if you don't mind, Tracy, if I could
Please.
add in one of our starting points at level 1, particularly because I was involved in my areas of recruitment, but one of the first things we did was we did a full review of our recruitment process and in terms of inclusivity. And that really was such a great starting point, because what I will say to people that perhaps haven't started their journey or have, you don't actually know what you've got until you start looking at it closely. So if you're feeling a bit daunted by it all, just take it bit by bit, because when we reviewed our recruitment processes, we kind of saw that actually we were further ahead than we thought. and then we could then progress from there. And we were already doing a lot and already working with our suppliers, asking them to confirm if their candidates need any adjustments.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I love that. And that's certainly something I know that you and the team do, Diane, not you personally, but one of the services you offer at Business Disability is that, isn't it?
Sorry, I just saw a question that said they can't access a web page. So for which service? Sorry.
For the services that you do around auditing people's recruitment practices,
yes,
the
yes,
Disability
yes.
Smart, and the
Yes,
global
absolutely.
stuff indeed that you're doing now.
Absolutely. So there was a question in the chat that was about, is there anything beyond Disability Confident Level 3? So I put in there that we've got a framework that we call Disability Smart that goes beyond Disability Confident, and that is based on a whole organisation approach. So right at the beginning, Helen talked about the importance of allies, and this kind of structures that, if you like, into 10 sort of pillars across an organisation that we believe are critical to getting it right, starting with leadership and going all the way through to suppliers, to ICT, to communications, to built environment, and also including, I should mention workplace adjustments, obviously, Tracy, but recruitment. Yeah. And under each of those, members can just do a self-assessment. There's a whole range of questions that you can look at to see if there might be barriers that you are inadvertently putting in place for people. But we can do sort of consultancy projects and help you work out where it is maybe that you might have a barrier. And I remember years ago, just as an example, we did an end-to-end recruitment review for one of our partners, a really good organisation and a really progressive organisation. But they were finding that disabled candidates were falling out at some point during the recruitment application process.
Yeah.
They didn't know why. And one of the things I remember that they found was that at first stage, they offered a telephone interview. And at that point, anybody, who has hearing loss or who just wasn't, comfortable with the phone would drop out. And knowing that organisation, if someone had gone back to them and said, hey, I'm really sorry, I've got hearing loss, that's tricky for me, could we do something else? That organisation would certainly
have done it.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were really good, but they hadn't offered it proactively. So that really small change was, we would like to offer you a telephone interview. If for any reason a telephone interview doesn't work for you, we can also offer these things. So it can often be such little simple things that don't really cost you anything, but make a massive difference. And if I may be so bold as well, there were lots of questions as well about different types of interview and how you can interview people. And I guess I would just say, make sure you're testing the skills for the job. So the way you just said, Tracy, about C++, if what you need is technical skills, then maybe get someone to do some coding for you. Maybe get them to find a bug in a piece of code, because that's what you need them to do, rather than sitting them in an interview and saying, what's the best bit of code you ever developed and what did you learn from it? That's not a good test. So it's making the process fit the role. And of course there are roles like my kind of role where you do need to do the sort of traditional interview thing and get asked questions and answer them, but that's not true for lots of roles. So just to be a bit creative.
And I think all of this feeds into why people get such a lot out of the disability confident journey, because when you're at the leadership status, what you've done, and Helene, you've talked about it, George, you've talked about it, and Diane, is you've gone through that process of looking at what you currently do, measuring the efficacy of what you currently do, and then making a decision whether to tick and keep and grow with continuous improvement, or to reject and look at something different. And I think that there's so many really good examples of what people have done, that if you're looking to persuade your line manager to allow you to have the time to do it, or you're looking to persuade your CEO to allow you days at a time and to pull in other parts of your business, it's really easy to show the business benefits if somebody is really into the nuts and bolts of things. Because I think to be able to show where you were and where you've got to is huge from any business, and most businesses just simply don't do it. I don't understand it personally. I love a good data set. I love being able to see, you know, people have flourished in this area and look what we've done that's slightly different from over here, where they're perhaps not achieving everything we'd like them to achieve, and then working out what it is and taking the barriers away. What could be more fun? But generally, I always use the example, I've got a double garage with my next door neighbour. I wouldn't get a racehorse and stick it in my, I couldn't fit it in my garage actually, but stick it in my garage and then expect in 3 weeks' time to run the Grand National with it and for it to win. It would be good for the knackers yard. That's it. So why do we do the same with our colleagues at work? And it's always such a delight talking to companies that just get it. It's embedded, it works, and you understand it. But my question is it only people who've personal lived experience that get involved in this? Is it passion that's driving us all to do this? Because I think all four of us have got non-visible disabilities on this call, and we are really passionate about what we do to make change. So how do we get our non-disabled colleagues involved and spreading the word? Do you capture, Helene, just for example, with your company, do you have an exec sponsor that says, yes, I've got a hearing impairment, a visual impairment, I'm neurodivergent, I'm autistic, or something like that?
So we actually have, we've got a number of staff networks, including our disability and neurodiverse network. So we work very closely on with them, and we had throughout our journey, we work closely with them, and we tried to align at like a particular like dates and times to.
So the awareness dates that come out during the year.
Dates, yeah. Thank you. Sorry, I forgot the term.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
So we worked with them, and I think you know, in answer to what you were saying, it wasn't just people with disabilities. I think you know, we've already spoken about the statistics. So statistically, yes, you know, there's a lot of people that are involved that have some kind of disability, or you know, everyone will know someone with a disability or is neurodiverse. And I think making the case and sorry, I have about 10 things going through my mind at once. I think in terms of making the case to leadership, what I wanted to say was that there's such a big case in terms of return on investment from productivity and gains and innovation from having that diverse workforce to, you know, things like employee engagement, brand perception. We subsequently won an award since, and sometimes you need to highlight those perhaps more commercial aspects as well as the people centered aspects, because the people that you're speaking to, like, things will ring true to different people, and different areas will perhaps get their buy-in. So that's something that I wanted to mention. And then also, don't expect to win everyone over all at once. It takes time. I've said about our engagement process and keeping up the communications. And sometimes also it's a case that you need to demonstrate how things are working. So for example, we've worked with employees who do have disabilities to do things like podcasts or share their stories. And lots of case studies and showing the impact of what we're doing. So for example, we use BDF's checklist for premises, and we've now embedded that. So now when we go out to look at new premises, we're using that audit. And so perhaps someone isn't going to get it. Someone who didn't get it 18 months ago is now seeing how that works. And I think it's about being consistent. And, you know, I didn't spend whole days at a time doing this just to reassure people. You know, it was doing little things consistently that led to where we are now today. So I don't want to put people off, you know, it's actually, you just need that initial buy-in to make the start, and the rest will come. I think it's like anything, Tracy. If sometimes you look at it as a whole, it can be very overwhelming.
Boiling the ocean, eating an elephant kind of thing.
Exactly.
Love that. George, what was your experience?
I think it's everything that Helene said, really. Very, very similar. I'd say what's like how we've approached it. We've seen people with lived experience, tend to be very passionate about the topic. So how we've utilised that is when we shared out across the business, like all the changes that we've been making, we told stories of colleagues and about how the changes are going to support them. So it wasn't just here's a new policy document, here's some new things that you have to do as part of your role. It was actually, this is the impact you can make on people's lives. The real life changes. It's not just about the increase in productivity and better outcomes at work. These are real life people that you're going to really make a difference to their own personal lives. And I think that is how we've seen that a big shift of like people actually go, okay, I get it. I get why this is important to me. Start to kind of take on that responsibility, which has been great to see. So that's really helped make a difference for us.
I love that, because it is we're kind of anonymized and homogenized by everything that's on social media and everything that goes on in the world. And the fact that people now get to the point of going, if I can make one person's life different, better, then why wouldn't I do that? And by the way, if it means that they're actually in work more, they don't have to take time off sick or whatever, then that's a win all round. So I love that human aspect of it. Thank you. So Diane, how are you finding it I know you're going through a process with your amazing number of members, if I may say. That's extraordinary. I think it was 200 when I worked at BDF. That's a huge increase. Yeah, it was a long time ago, obviously. But how are you getting people on that journey? Because I know that you're very much doing webinars and sessions to encourage people to move up the ladder.
I think they have to do it at the right pace for them. And there are some organisations who want to motor through it and maybe aren't quite ready, and making sure that that's really robust and that they have got the cultural change, because it's very easy to go, right, we'll just get all the policies we need, but it has to be lived, and you have to feel it, and the experience. I think there was various questions and comments about getting people to share they have a disability. The perceived benefits have got to outweigh the risks, and you can only do that by actually living all these things, demonstrating that they are real. It's not just a policy, it's not just a tick box, it is something that you truly believe. And there's been some lovely comments in the chat about really knowing your people. There was a question in there about, I think you were talking about how you get people to share disability, and then just having the question about asking people what they need, but also saying, I've noticed that you don't seem to be yourself. Or an example I really like, this is a true story, of somebody who was deaf in one ear and always got in early to sit by the window so that nobody could approach her on the side where she couldn't hear them, would be surprised. But she hadn't told her manager, she'd only told the D&I lead. And you think, well, you can't make somebody tell you, but as a manager you could say, hey, I've noticed that you always get in really early, and I've noticed you always pick that desk. Is there a reason? And you can encourage people. And it's not until that you've got that kind of confidence, is being overused, I suppose, in this conversation, but you've got that confidence amongst your line managers, that trust, that it really feels safe. I think somebody put psychological safety. There's so much amazing chat. Trying to look at it.
It is awesome.
Actually feels like that. Then you can then say, okay, right, now we're ready. It's not just about having a list of processes. It's not a list of policies. It's not just a statement on our website. It's something that we live and breathe and believe in. So it's the
authenticity, isn't it, though?
It's authenticity.
It's what you were talking about, George's, what you talked about, Helene, is a company's authentic desire to make a real difference to both the colleagues and the clients. Because in amongst all of this is, as you've said, George, certainly within the public sector, it's a great green flag to go, hey, we've done this. We give a toss about our staff and we give a toss about our customers. So am I supposed to say that? Well, never mind, we've done it now. And it's really important that you see that we do actually care. This isn't lip service. And I think to what I was asking about earlier with 2 ticks, we have moved so far away from what 2 ticks was, which was very much a tick box. I don't know whether any of you actually remember it. I think, George,
I do.
Probably far too young.
I do,
But
yeah.
Yeah, but it didn't have any teeth. And the idea is not to beat companies over the head with this. This is a measurement tool, a way of living, a way of engaging with your staff, with your customers, checking their mental health works, checking that you've actually got a full and working workplace adjustment process, which is what Microlink do, which is where I come in, making sure that you've got an escalation point for if something's not happening within the organization, that people don't have to leave you and move. I was talking to a fashion house recently, and they were saying that for a very low level manager, it costs them £140,000 to replace a line manager at a junior level. And I mean, it doesn't take a lot for that to be a heck of a big part of your budget to go. So everything that we are doing here and that you guys are exemplar at doing is saying it's a stitch in time, as my old nan used to say. If you actually get this right and you're doing it going along, the business case is always reinforcing itself positively, because you will be able to show, because we're all measuring these data, aren't we? You will be able to show that you're retaining staff, you've got a happier workforce, more engaged workforce, and that you're actually attracting the talent that you need. Now, I know there's a lot of redundancies and the like going on at the moment. Some of it's open, some of it's less open. There's a lot of voluntary retirements and redundancies happening all over the place. And again, I think it's the ability for a company to go, we care, we can make the difference. If you're thinking about staying in work and you want to when you get much older, please do, because these are the adjustments that we can make. So, Helen, would you do it all over again?
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I love that. You see,
without
wonderful.
a doubt, I loved it though. I loved geeking out at the end, building all the evidence together. So apart from anything else,
Yeah,
I've tried to keep up with a couple
I
of
know there's so many,
questions.
and apologies.
So,
There've been really good questions and
I would
comments.
I would say around intersectionality,
Yeah,
we always take the view, whilst obviously this is disability focused, we never looked at it in isolation, and
yeah,
actually we looked at other protected characteristics as we went along, because you can't, no one's just one thing, are we?
yeah,
Ultimately,
absolutely. That really important point. Yeah,
and so I think you can utilize this process to really delve into it across the board, and I'd really recommend that. What I would say is, if you're thinking about it, don't hesitate and don't make assumptions about the work that's involved. I touched on it already.
mm,
We broke it down, we had a plan, and that really paid off long term. And I think because we were me and or rather Moji and I were the driving force behind it, we both did it. We weren't ticking boxes. It's never
yeah,
ever been
yeah,
about ticking boxes for us. We did it because we wanted a diverse workforce. We wanted inclusion. We wanted people to be able to come to work and ask each other how they're doing. If they weren't doing so great, we wanted that conversation to be able to happen. And that is what drove us. And I think it's people that feel like that need to be driving it, and
yeah,
then get those allies on board, like I mentioned. And I think also it's about being clear about why you want to start on that journey and what your end goal is, whether you're doing it because your competitors are doing it, whether what I'm saying is resonating with you, whether your clients or customers require it, whether it's nice to have a budget, so on and so forth. And I do think that we've spoken about the human touch, and I think all of us here, the human touch is what matters most, right? But
really.
some people, you do need to tap into other things to get their buy-in. So it's looking at who your audience are for that as well. But going back to what your motivations are for doing it, I think, that reason is what's going to help you direct the level of engagement and stakeholder involvement that's required to drive what really is. It's essentially an organisation change programme. So
Yeah, and I would agree. And I think on that point, it's important for people to recognise the more that you can perhaps if you're working in a big organization, I mean, I'm talking like plus 20,000 staff, is to have the key stakeholders that perhaps somebody who works within procurement, or as we do when we're working at workplace adjustment programs, we need to have the key people to find out where their barriers are, to remove those, to make sure that what we're putting together with disability confident or workplace adjustments is fit for purpose, that we're measuring the right things, and that there is a way of measuring them. Because that measurement, unless you know where you started, how do you know if it's worked for you at the end of that process? So thank you ever so much for that. And George, would you do it again? I reckon you would, time over time, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd do it
Yeah.
forever. I'd just keep going. But well, we will have to keep going because it's the end. So yeah, it's been a great process for us, and I think what we touched on earlier is it was great for us to understand what we were already doing. I'm sure if any organisation picks up this, wants to become disability confident at any stage, will soon realise actually they're already on their path.
Yeah.
So it's not about you starting from nothing. It's just how do you continue to grow and improve. And even like us, when you're become a disability confident leader, you can still continue to improve. And what it's allowed for us is to kind of bring together different opportunities across the business. So a lot of the work that we do internally supports disabled people, but externally for our products impact disabled people, like access to our trains, or
Yeah.
even we do do a lot of the signs in train stations, and kind of along with that, like the PA systems that go with that. So how can we make them accessible? Is there anything more that we can be doing?
Have you been doing stuff around the animated BSL on signage?
I'm not sure any specific examples, but I know that these are the we've had opportunities that never before would have been raised to us about taking things into consideration, and in the same way. So there's always going to be more opportunities to improve and progress. So that's what I've been. So it's been great about this program is it's becoming disability confident leaders. It's not just a one and done, and this is what I've pushed for internally from the start. It isn't a tick box exercise. It's something to really drive change and make a real difference for people. So that's what we have done, and that's what we'll continue to do as well.
And that is key, I think, as well. I keep talking about key things, but you're making a real change. You're making a difference. I see a lot of websites where people are talking about being neuro-inclusive, having inclusive recruitment practices, looking after their staff well. But once you scratch underneath the surface of it, they're just using the keywords and not actually having anything behind them to support it, which I think is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, I think that's from doing a bit of research. You do see a lot of that, and I mean, in the space, there's always going to be room for improvement. I mean, that's what I think. Trying to get people comfortable with that is that much as we'd wish it to be perfect, there is more to be done. So, getting people aware of that and understanding how they can look for those opportunities to be more inclusive. So, yeah, it's been a really informative, I guess, process. I guess for myself, but I'd like to think for our colleagues as well who've been never really working in the space before.
Yeah, I love that. Diane, where are you all at with BDF and disability confident leaders?
Where are we at? I'm going to be slightly naughty, and firstly, the bit about intersectionality really made me laugh because I've got a long-term condition and a kind of blood cancer, and I saw my consultant last week, and he went through his list of things. He's a youngish man, and I said, "Are you experiencing your night sweats?" And I nearly laughed out loud. I'm a 52-year-old woman, mate. So anyway. Where are we at? So I'm actually the vice chair or the deputy chair, which I'm not sure what I'm called, of the Disability Confident Business Leaders Group. So very pleased to be on that. And we at BDF.
What does that group do?
It brings together, I don't even know how many people it is, but people from very senior levels within DCL3 organisations to try and look at how disability confident can be improved and strengthened, raise the profile, and also I think you were talking about networks and supply chains, but actually then influence others. So get others within their sectors, others within their business and supply chains, and really try and push it up the agenda, basically. So that's what that is. And at BDF generally, we do validations, a little plug for that, which are free for our members. You can do it if you're not a member, but we make a small charge, but why wouldn't you join us? But we
Why wouldn't they?
Why wouldn't you? But we have a whole load of resources on it. We have a disability confident toolkit and resources, and think it's just a great way to really get started and then accelerate on getting it right for disabled people. Obviously, primarily as employees is the focus of Disability Confident. But if you get it right for your employees, then my goodness, that will help you get it right for your customers.
And the nice thing is with the Business Disability Forum, it's the opportunity to network. So if you're starting out on the journey or you're worried about making the business case, you've got a group of people around. I mean, George and Helene are here now, but there's certainly people that they will put you in touch with that you can talk to say, okay, this is what we did. We're in the same sector as you. We understand the challenge. This is how you overcome it. Because I think everybody is on a slightly different journey with it. You're not always going to find enlightened bosses that say, yes, run with it. Not always. But if we can go from a two-man micro business that I validated, I was saying before we came on the call, bless their hearts, both of whom are disabled. They run a very small business doing technology things, and they've just got to level 3. I mean, bless them, they've done all the policies and procedures. If you can do it as a two-man shop between the two of you, I think we could all give it a good go. I really do. I don't know whether there was anything specifically that I've missed in the questions. There have been so many, and brilliant chat. Really enjoyed that. It's quite difficult, quite distracting. So apologies if my eyes go all over the place. We've had lots of questions about, again, access to work. I think really it's slightly off topic of what we're talking about here. It's a key element to supporting your staff. But I think we all have to understand that there is a limit on what you can get from access to work now, realistically, within a short time frame. So certainly if you've got the big ticket items, if you've got an individual who needs a BSL interpreter, for example, and you're going with live interpretation, there are an awful lot of brilliant online interpreters that are available as well. Or if you've got somebody who needs scripting for JAWS, perhaps, or a support worker, access to work or travel costs, access to work absolutely hits the spot. Otherwise, there are all sorts of organisations, including, of course, Microlink, who can support and hopefully reduce the time and the cost and the resources needed to get your colleagues back to work well. But the bottom line on all of this, with the last 3 minutes, I'm going to ask you all for a quick comment. And if we can start with you, Diane, because you're on my screen. Do it, don't do it.
Do it.
I love that. Just bloody do it. Can I just ask, have you got your red shoes on today?
No, I haven't. Sorry, but I am wearing a necklace with a thunderbolt and lightning coming out of it.
Oh, do you know I have got the same one? I have got exactly the same one, but I've never worn it, and I love it. I was looking at it there. Yeah, love that one. Diane is infamous for her variety of rather stylish shoes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Not on OnlyFans or anything like that, but just generally in BDF circles.
Not yet.
I know, sorry. Oh, not yet. Okay. Never knock it till you tried it. That's what I'd say. Helene, for yourself, do it, don't do it.
Throw me off completely. Definitely do it. I mean, come on, happy people. That's what we want. Happy people make good business sense.
I'm loving that.
And make life better.
I think we should have that on t-shirts. I really do. Helene, thank you. George, you get the last word.
Yeah, just 100% do it. Make the most of it. It will make such a difference, and it will really impact people's lives.
Look at that. If you all on the call, and there's a lot of people on the call, I'm delighted to say, please push this information out. If you struggle in any way, shape or form to get buy-in from seniors, you've got 4 people, 5 people here that you can reach out to, and we will be delighted to help you on this journey. It's too important. No man left behind, no man, woman or baby dachshund left behind. We need to, all of us, really up our game in terms of how we support colleagues, how we support our customers, so that we all get a better deal out of life, because times is tough. So I want to say thank you ever so much to Helene and to Diane and to George. Really, really appreciate your time. Thank you everybody for listening in again. We have another session at the end of September. We take August off. We let you take August off. And we look forward to seeing you in September and sending you out the resources. But please, anything that we can help you with, don't hesitate to get in touch. So thank you so much, and we will see you in a month's time. Take care.